Hello. I hope most of you enjoyed yesterday's class. All of you attended yesterday's class? Yeah, so we are not going to have any class today. You've been given a paper, right? We'll have a short assignment. So write your name and roll number, whatever was given to you on the paper, and the date, the white paper. Okay, paper you want? So to the left hand side and right hand side, leave 2 finger space. Okay, this side and this side, and also the bottom and top and bottom, leave some space. That's how the UPSC paper looks like. Okay, leave that space. If you want, you can put in some columns. UPSC paper format like UPSC. So we've decided that we'll start answer writing practice, right? Day before yesterday. So now we are going to implement it. So the first question that you're going to answer is, why did you choose civil services as a career option? Whatever you must have thought. And I want you to write it in 150 words. Start writing. So 150 words is usually, see, it varies depending on your writing, but usually the UPSC paper looks like this. You have to leave the space over here. These are the margins which are given on the top end and the, rightmost and leftmost corner, and you have to write over here. So 150 words or 200 words is usually one side, and about 75% of the second side. Please start writing. Whatever you feel. Whatever is your opinion, don't hesitate whether it is right or wrong, am I writing right or not. It is just to help you contemplate and try to put your thoughts on paper. Those students who have done writing, you have another sheet with you, right? So try to write this answer. All of us have completed a 10th class, right? We have some understanding about India. We are living in this country. So what is your understanding about India? From different dimensions, let it be political, geographical, historical, economical, or your general understanding as an emotion which you connect with India. So based on this, try to write an answer in 200 words. Enumerate your understanding about India. And for the online students also, you can write it and upload it on the Google Classroom. We'll be letting you know how to do it. So all of you are done writing? Anyone left? You have another 2 minutes. Try to complete. Rest all you can go through the news. Don't take rest. So yeah, so you've written the answers, right? So you'll be given access to a Google Classroom. You'll get a mail from AKS. Over there, you have to join that classroom. In that, you'll have basics of answer writing. There's a classroom which is created, a topic called basics of answer writing. There you have these two questions. Through the cam scanner, you have a cam scanner app on your phone, right? Scan it and upload it over there. You have mentioned your name and contact number over there, right? And also put it as assignment 1 and assignment 2. The two sheets, whatever you have. Okay. If you have any queries, like you can ask me after the class how to upload it. So this exercise was to elicit what is the level of answer writing capability that you have. It is for your self-understanding. Along with that, we'll also give you some feedback. This has been written in an extempore manner. So it was to test your originality without any pre-existing subject which was given in the class. Okay. So you have given your first assignment, and this is the first step to write an essay. That's a good thing. So now you must have understood how you could organize your thoughts, but when you put it on paper, what's the variation, what you have in mind, and what it comes onto the paper. And some basics of answer writing, what are the keywords that you have to focus on, because in the second question I've given you a keyword called enumerate. There's a keyword called analyze, critically examine, critically evaluate, okay, differentiate, define. These are the keywords which are given in the UPSC. So we'll have a separate session on the art of answer writing. Another faculty will be taking it. When you have that session, along with that, we'll also have a separate session on essay writing, basics of essay writing. You'll have clarity. But some basic things that you have to keep in mind are, whenever you're writing an answer, try to give a proper introduction, maintain a logical flow, try to give a proper spacing. Okay, so some people write it in a very clustered manner, but you need to differentiate it. So only then can the examiner see it. Here, if you see, the student has written. So when it came to differences, he was trying to write about differences. He gave side headings. So when you write an answer, try to give different dimensions. And when you're giving a dimension, try to mention it as a separate side heading and underline the keywords. And by underlining keywords, it doesn't mean that you take up a red pen or some blue, different color pen. It is not necessary. Whatever pen that you are using, just try to underline it. You don't need to use a pencil also. And keywords, what do you mean by keywords? It is whatever content that you're writing, one particular term which signifies the content or which is very important, that you have to try to underline so that it becomes easier for the examiner to evaluate. Okay, so now we'll start with how to read the newspaper. Some of you have already started reading the newspaper. That's a good thing. And as I told you in the first class, when you're reading the newspaper, whatever item that you're coming across, whatever news article that you're coming across, try to analyze which part of the syllabus does it fit into. Have you started going through your syllabus every day? All of you. Please spend at least 10 to 15 minutes on going through the syllabus. Now open page number 1. So India crosses 100 crore COVID-19 vaccine doses. So is it important for us? Should we remember these facts? Not necessarily. Okay. If you just read the headline, you can understand that we are providing good vaccination and it is an inclusive vaccination policy that we have adopted. However, in this article, there's a term called UNICEF. What is UNICEF? Where is it headquartered? What are its functions? What are the organs of UNICEF? And which is the nodal agency or the implementing agency of the agenda of UNICEF? This you try to find out. Basic Google and Wikipedia will help you. Don't try to get into too much depth of it. Just spend about 5 minutes, you'll understand the context of it. Then Supreme Court says farmers have right to protest but can't block roads. So as part of polity, you'll come across a chapter called Fundamental Rights. Part 3 of the Constitution enumerates the various fundamental rights mentioned in the Constitution itself. The founding fathers of the Constitution, out of their experience and out of their, deriving the best from other constitution of the world, we have enumerated the fundamental rights to the citizens and non-citizens in the Constitution itself. So this right to protest, is it a fundamental right or not, or is it a legal right? This year also in the UPSC Prelims question, there was a, Prelims paper, there was a question stating that is that particular right to property, whether it is a legal right or a fundamental right, there was a question. So these kind of questions have been asked several times in UPSC. Okay, so you have to be aware. The other day we have discussed what is a statutory right, what is a constitutional right, what is a legal right. Okay, these things you have to keep in mind. So over here our agenda is to know whether right to protest is a fundamental right or not. If so, under which article does it fall under? Under fundamental rights, which part of fundamental rights? Is it Article 19 or Article 21 or whatever? That is for your homework. And here in this article, if you see the last paragraph in that article, the court noted that it had laid down the law in the Shaheen Bagh protest case that the right to protest should not hamper the right to movement. Right to movement is a fundamental right, right? Because of that only we are able to freely move in this country. Right to freedom of speech and expression is a fundamental right. These are basic things that which you are experiencing in your day-to-day life. But under which article do they categorize? If you take Article 21 of the Constitution, right to life and personal liberty, it is very wide in its scope. The Supreme Court over a period of time has been, expanding the scope of Article 21 through the various judgments. So in the same way they have said right to protest also. But this right to protest, does it include right to strike? Right to strike, right to hartal. So that thing you just try to know. And here they have mentioned about Shaheen Bagh protest case. So whenever you're quoting in your mains answer, the Supreme Court in the Shaheen Bagh case, you have to try to quote this. Had said that right to protest does not necessarily mean right to, block the freedom of movement. This is the thing that you have to write in your answer. That is why I have stressed on this. So note making, while you try to make notes in the initial stages of newspaper reading, maintain a handbook. In that, you just try to make a note of Shaheen Bagh protest, right to Shaheen Bagh case of Supreme Court, right to protest versus right to movement. So whenever you see it in the future, you will be able to correlate. Okay. Then organized crime charges valid in Gauri case. So in your paper 3 of general studies mains, have you gone through the syllabus? I hope all of you have gone through the syllabus, isn't it so? So you have organized crime and linkages with terrorism. So what is organized crime? Planned. You can call it as planned crime. Why are we calling it as organized crime? Any crime for you to do, you need to plan it. There's a particular planning that goes into it. So there is a linkage between how organized crime, it reinforces with terrorism, how terrorism is reinforcing the crime. So both mutually feed each other in the form of finances, material support, manpower support. The crime as well as terrorist activities are linked to each other. So when we deal with internal security, you will have a complete picture of it. But for you to do your homework now, just try to Google what is organized crime and the linkage with terrorism. Okay. Then PM to attend climate meet in Glasgow. So, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. This is your homework. UNFCCC. What is UNFCCC? Why is it brought into picture? What are the various conventions under UNFCCC, which is an implementing agency of the agenda of UNFCCC? In the first page itself, we have not yet moved to the second page. In the first page itself, you see PM to attend climate meet in Glasgow. So what is UNFCCC? COP26. Then in the second paragraph, you have something called as One World, One Solar, One Grid. This is a prospective initiative. Along with that, do you want to revisit rupees 8 lakh slab? Supreme Court asked government. So this kind of articles, it is informative in nature. If you just read the first 2 paragraphs, you'll understand. Even this farmers protest and all, we don't need to get into the complete details of that article. It is not much of importance for us. It is only informative in nature. But what we have taken, the right to protest and right to movement, freedom of movement. And then over here, the Supreme Court regarding the economic vehicles, EWS reservation, economically weaker sections reservation. So my question to you is whether India has caste-based reservation or not. We do. All of you are agreeing with it? We do not have caste-based reservation. India doesn't have caste-based reservation. That is a fact. So get your facts checked. Try to know what kind of reservation system that we have. And economically weaker section reservation was introduced 2 years back or 1 year back. So try to know under which constitutional amendment. There was a constitutional amendment which was passed. 103 Constitutional Amendment Act was passed, under which we have included economically weaker section reservation. And that was based on economical criteria only. And in the constitution, we have provided reservation for the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and women. Back OBC reservation, it was not mentioned in the constitution, but OBC reservation after the Mandal Commission, we have included OBC reservation also. But in all these cases, we have provided reservation on socially and educationally backwardness, not caste-based reservation. Okay? Socially and educational backwardness. So this is a basic idea about it. And if you want to know the details of it, open your Lakshmikant book over there under Article 15. If you read Article 15 and 16, you'll understand about the reservation policy. 2 to 3 pages of Lakshmikant. Don't try to Google this issue. Read Lakshmikant, Article 15 and 16. You'll understand what is this reservation policy, why do we have it. And you have something called as affirmative action. Under this affirmative action policy only, India had adopted reservation policy. In the United States of America, you have affirmative action for the racial communities like the blacks. In India, we have it for the marginalized sections who were historically denied opportunities. Because of the caste system in India, historically, caste system as well as the patriarchal system, there were historically some sections of the society were historically denied opportunities. So that is why we have adopted a reservation policy, wherein we are trying to create a more equitable society, where the weaker sections are trying to be brought on parity with the other sections of the society. That is why we have adopted the reservation system, but it is not caste-based reservation. There could be a question in the prelims. They'll give you a statement, India has a caste-based reservation policy. Most of us, because we are unaware, we might take it. But now that you understand, it is not caste-based reservation. Then let's move to, see, you can ignore page number 2, 3, 4, 5. Because it is not of much relevance to UPSC. If you are interested, you can just read the headlines. That is about your sole interest. But for UPSC, it would not be of much importance. To just be about, just know about the happenings around you, you can go through that. But I feel it is not necessary. Then we come to the editorial page, scripting history. It's again related to the vaccine percolation. Scripting history. So if you read the first paragraph, you'll understand what they're saying. Not much to remember over there. But there is one term that we have to go through. You have a term called ICMR, Indian Council of Medical. Right? So about ICMR, this is a national organization. So try to know about ICMR. Wikipedia. What is ICMR? What is its vision? What is its mission? Where is it headquartered? Whether it is a governmental body or a department or an agency. Whether it is a constitutional body or just a statutory body, or it is just a department, or it is an individual entity. This you have to try to know. Okay? Because in prelims they ask you this kind of questions. They'll give you a statement. Then, responding to adversity with achievement by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Prime Minister is also writing articles for you. Isn't it appreciable? So here, if you see that statement, responding to adversity with achievement, That statement itself could be an essay topic for you. Just contemplate today once you go back home, how you respond to adversity with achievement. You have an adversity of facing the UPSC examination where 10 lakh students are going to give the examination, which includes the freshers as well as veterans, as well as people getting into the IPS, IRS or other services. This adversity you will try to face and succeed in the examination with your achievement. Okay, so these kind of statements you can quote in your essay or ethics paper. In your handbook, you can just make note of this. The newspaper handbook, whichever you're going to maintain, some quotations, some terms that you come across, that's how you try to utilize the newspaper. Beyond that, don't research the newspaper. Okay, so over here, if you read this article, you'll understand. 1 or 2 paragraphs, if you read, you'll understand what it is about. But you don't need to make any notes from this. What you have to focus is, there's a term called Atmanirbhar. There was a scheme after COVID, Atmanirbhar Bharat. That was a policy of the government. What is Atmanirbhar Bharat policy or scheme? Just try to do some basic Googling. After COVID, there was a huge economic as well as socio-economic crisis that India was reeling under. So to come out of this crisis, the government has provided certain benefits or certain kind of incentives to the industry to revive the economic activity. Along with that, for migrant workers, they have given some incentives, some policy support. So just try to read about Atmanirbhar Bharat. Google kare to, you'll find it. And then there's a term called equitable scheme. You see, right, in the second paragraph starts with an equitable scheme. What is equity? We have a paper called Ethics, Integrity and Aptitude. Most of the times you're asked these questions. They'll just give you these basic terms and ask you to define it and explain it according to your understanding and give some examples. So here, what is equity versus justice? Homework. So if you ask me, where do I find this? We have given you a book called Political Theory. Political Theory NCERT book is there, na? In that you'll have this. And also we have given you ethics material also. If you didn't receive it, you'll receive it. Ethics material maybe aapko mil jayega. So these are the terms that you focus upon. At a basic level, what is trust? If I ask you what is trust, you would give me a vague answer, but a more relevant as well as far-fetching, far-impacting answer. Definition if you give, that becomes self-explanatory to the examiner. So that's how you need to approach. Here they have given in the first paragraph, if you see the scale and trust. Trust itself is a term for ethics. They have asked this question also. So what is trust? What is equity? What is justice? This you try to find out today. And Atmanirbhar. The rest all that article is not much of relevance. It is, but you can utilize this article to see how an essay can be written, because this would be written by some IAS officer, senior at a cabinet secretary level also. So how they structure the answer, how the language is simplistic in nature, at the same time they're able to create an impact on the viewer. How the information has been arranged in a logical sequence, that we have to try to know. Nothing much to remember from this article, but you have to read this article to understand. Okay. Then squaring off again in the Himalayan heights. Beijing seems to have taken off the Modi's prescription of 2014 of inch towards miles, rather literally on the disputed border. General Studies paper 3 mains, internal security. So what you have, along with internal security, it also has implications for international relations, GS2. If you see the UPSC mains paper, there is no set pattern in which the questions are asked. Sometimes the questions which you think are for GS2 are asked in GS3. And sometimes even disaster management questions are asked in GS4, that is ethics paper. They'll give you a case study regarding a particular disaster at force and how would you respond to it. It has been asked in UPSC 2014. So like that, if you see, this could be useful for GS2 as well as 3. You can read this article. It is given in a simplistic language only, but You don't need to make notes from this article. What terms that we have to derive from this article is, what is unipolarity? What is multipolarity? Okay, if you do not know, Google karo. Unipolar world, multipolar world. Okay. Then, and in UPSC preparation, you cannot prepare in silos. It's like, what do I mean by that? You cannot compartmentalize your preparation. It is an interlinked syllabus, general studies. So when we have discussed that it is related to international relations or internal security. At the same time, as a serious UPSC aspirant, I'm coming across some geographical terms and also some geographical locations. I'm just reading, okay, Ladakh is somewhere. I just keep in mind. But if I see visually on my atlas, I will know where is Ladakh. What is LAC, line of actual control? LAC is mentioned in this article. So I'll open up my atlas and see where is LAC. Which are the bordering states? So LAC is the border between India and China. LOC? India and Pakistan. Fine, good. So when you're focusing on these areas in the atlas, you have to try to see which are the states bordering Pakistan, which are the states of India bordering China, Tibet. Okay, in the northeast. If you see about the Chinese border with India, you have different sectors: the central sector, the eastern sector, and the western sector. The LAC is not a continuum whole. It breaks in between because of the Himalayas. And then again in the eastern sector also you have the LAC. We have this border skirmishes with China when it comes to the LAC. At the northeast, China claims Arunachal Pradesh as its own. So these are the things that you have to keep in mind. So open your atlas and see the region of Himalayan region. Lot of time questions are asked from those areas. Okay. So when you're seeing that area, look at the states. Along with that, look at the passes. You have something called as pass. What is a pass? When there is a mountain range, you cannot pass through the mountain, right? So there would be certain natural passes built or certain passes which are man-made. So there you have in the Himalayan region, a lot of passes are there. When you're looking at this area, try to focus on that. When we deal with geography, again, we will try to focus. But now, this is your groundwork that you have to do. Look at the passes. If there are any rivers flowing there, look at those rivers. And if you have any lakes. For example, in the Ladakh region, you have something called as Pangong Lake. Pangong Tso. This is what kind of lake is it? Anybody? The UPSC asked this question. What kind of lake it is? It is at the highest altitude. A lake at a very high altitude. Above the Himalayas. So that's why it has some geographical significance. Whether it is a saline lake, whether it is a freshwater lake. Okay, that you try to find out today. You can just note down. Pangong Lake, Ladakh region, LAC, LOC, which are the states bordering Pakistan and China. Then in this article you have a mention of Arunachal Pradesh Tawang region. So China is claiming this Tawang region of Arunachal Pradesh as its own. So when we deal with internal security, we'll try to give you the whole history of it, internal security and international relations. But now just try to focus where is this Tawang region, Arunachal Pradesh, the border area between China and Arunachal Pradesh. Then apart from that, if you go to this impact on modernization, and once you go to impact of modernization, if you move to the last paragraph, you have this term called Quad. Are you coming across this term regularly? What is Quad? You have some, in your syllabus, you have a mention of international relations, international organizations, international associations. So what is Quad? We will try to know. And why is Quad, the proposal of Quad, coming into picture in the first place? It is a counter to one of the policy by China. What is that policy? You will try to know today. Okay. What is Quad? And also there is a mention of, here they have mentioned which are the countries part of Quad. In the prelims examination, they do ask you these questions. So and so countries are part of Quad. India is a part of this ASEAN. Or sometimes it happens like Is it a permanent member or an observing state? These are the kind of prelims questions which are asked. Okay, you have been given a booklet called International Relations, right? In that booklet, there's a topic called international organizations. There you'll have some prominent international organizations which are listed that you go through. And whenever you're dealing with this international organizations or relations, you have to try to focus on which are the member countries, whether India is a member or not, whether India is a permanent member or a non-permanent member. There's a distinction between this. Okay, and then where is it headquartered? Prelims kind of questions. They'll ask you about the headquarters sometimes. They'll give you a statement. If you do not know it, you will unnecessarily lose a mark. Headquartered and which is the nodal agency or the implementing agency. Okay, whatever international organization or the national organization, the same holds true for Indian context. If you have a national organization or a national body, like the National Commission for Human Rights, National Commission for Minorities, like that you have some national organizations. Okay, Central Water Commission, like these things are there. A lot of organizations will be there. If you open your Lakshmikant book, at the end of that book, you'll find these bodies, constitutional bodies and non-constitutional bodies. So whenever you're reading about them, try to see their headquarters, their vision, their mission, and also what is the implementing agency. Whether those orders are binding or not. Now you know what is a binding order and non-binding order. Okay, so that you will try to know. So read about Quad. Which countries are party to Quad is mentioned in this article only. India, United States, Australia, and Japan. China is not present. So now you must have understood. It is a counter to China. In the Indian Ocean region, IOR region, which we call as, and the South China Sea. Because China wants to establish its hegemony over Indian Ocean region. And we are trying to counterbalance. We don't say we are opposing China, we are against China. In the diplomatic language, we have to try to use this jargon at a strategic level. We are trying to engage with China. Here also is a squaring off. Look at the terms that they are using. And here, engaging the Taliban. You see, engaging. We are not saying partnering with Taliban or meeting Taliban. In the regular parlance, you speak this way. But when you are writing a UPSC answer, every subject has its own jargon. So when we are engaging with a particular country, here we are saying engaging the Taliban. Is Taliban a country? No, right? So earlier we had this policy, India will engage only with countries. And India will engage with those organizations or countries which have been recognized. But Taliban, until 2 months back, was a militant force. They were recognized as terrorists. But due to the changing reality, the new reality, if you read this article, there's a mention of new reality. Now that they have established their government, we are compelled to engage with them. Until now, until 2 months back, we didn't engage with Taliban directly at a diplomatic level because it is a non-state actor. It is not a country, it is not a state per se. But now Taliban is run by that, Afghanistan is run by Taliban. So that's why we are prospectively engaging with them at a diplomatic level. So you've been reading about Afghan crisis and stuff like that since the past 2 months or so. Even before you started preparing for UPSC, you know that Taliban has taken over Afghanistan. So what happens if Taliban comes to power? You might be knowing. But the genesis of this issue lies in the Cold War era. What is the Cold War? All of you know? If you do not know, just do some basic Googling. It's a war of two blocks, between one block led by USSR or Russia, the erstwhile USSR, another block led by the United States. And also it's a war of ideologies between capitalism at one end, supported by the United States of America, and communism on the other end. So the world was virtually, it was not like, it was divided, but virtually it was divided into two blocks. One supporting the communist ideology, one by the capitalist ideology. So it was a war of, weapons, whether America has more weapons, more technology. It was a war of which country is supporting whom, how many countries are within their ambit, and also like that, a lot of strategic implications were there, economic implications were there. So it was a war not directly in the war front, but they were trying to compete with each other at the sports level, diplomatic level, okay, and also at the strategic level. When we talk about World War I, World War II, there was a battlefront. There was a direct engagement of weapons. People were fighting, killing each other. But this war was not about a direct battlefront. It was, that's why we call it as Cold War. Okay? This is a brief background. So during this Cold War, Afghanistan was brought under the influence of USSR. If you see so what you do now is you open the map. You open the map, look at Russia. Where is Afghanistan located? Does India share a border with Afghanistan? This is an activity for you. Does India share a border with Afghanistan? Yes or no? Okay. So you open the map and you can see that Afghanistan is very much near to Russia. And when there was USSR, lot of countries which are now independent, they were part of Russia previously. So Afghanistan also came under the sphere of influence of Russia. So that's why United States of America was supporting some Mujahideen groups to fight Russian army. So those Mujahideen groups later came to be Taliban. So this is a brief background. So it was a creation of United States of America only against Russia. So they have provided them weapons as well as monetary support, and also trained them, those Mujahideen forces, to fight the Russian army. And now after Russia retreated in the year 2000, these are Taliban attacked 9/11, like World Trade Center of America. From then, America has tried to attack Taliban. They have listed it as a terrorist organization. So that's how Osama bin Laden and all that thing, So this is a brief context of it. So that's the major genesis of the issue. And now this issue, how it evolved. And ultimately, whatever we are seeing, what is the implication for India is what we have to look at. So if Taliban is taking over Afghanistan, what is the implication for India? How are we bothered staying in Hyderabad in India? It is because it has a strategic implication for India. India always sought a peaceful Afghanistan because it will lead to more economic development. There will be trade relations. India also made some investments in Afghanistan in infrastructure projects. Isn't it so? So if you do not have a stable government, if you have terrorist activities, bombings happening every day, you cannot get benefit of those investments. Apart from that, these Mujahideens or the Talibans, they do support the separatist movement in Kashmir. It is an internal security as well as border issue for us. So that's why we are alarmed by the situation. So that is the strategic significance of Afghanistan. So if Afghanistan is also in the hands of Taliban and Pakistan is anyways an anonymous, is having animosity with India. So that is why if both these countries come together and ISI as well as Taliban are in tune, fighting and supporting the Kashmiri rebellion, it will become a major challenge for India. It will also lead to drug supply, because you have something called as Golden Crescent. Write this. Golden Crescent. Golden Crescent, Golden Triangle. What is this? Did you hear about this previously? Anyone? Golden Crescent and Golden Triangle. So this is a axis where the drug supply, major drug supply, drug mafia is taking place. So Afghanistan has been producing opium and a lot of drugs thanks to the terrorists, the Taliban and the terrorists. How do the Taliban get their funding? It is through selling these drugs, through extortion. So we have heard a term called organized crime. You see how crime is being organized and they are getting their financial resources. It is through sale of drugs, extortion, kidnappings. So that's how they reinforce each other. So that is the linkage between organized crime and terrorism. In the same way, over there, this thing is happening at an international context. So you try to know which are the countries part of golden triangle, golden crescent. And this article, you can just read it, you'll understand, but don't make any notes out of it. Not necessary, because we'll be giving you the monthly current affairs magazine, and also when we deal with international relations or internal security, then the Afghan issue will be explained in detail. You'll have the notes per se. So it becomes a redundant thing if you make notes now and again. Then will privatization take off after the Air India sale? Which part of our syllabus does it fit into? Where is this? Which part of our syllabus does it fit into? Which paper? Mains, GS3. So why are we adopting privatization? You must have thought about it, no? What is disinvestment? Make a note of this. What is disinvestment? I want you to have a basic definition. So you can open your Shankar Ganesh economy book or do some Googling. What is disinvestment? Or if you read this first paragraph also, you can understand what is disinvestment. What is India's does India have a disinvestment policy? If so, what is the recent disinvestment policy portray or seeks to achieve? What is a public sector undertaking? PSU. What is public sector per se? You have something called as private sector and public sector. What is public sector? You have something called as DIPP. What is DIPP? Under which ministry does DIPP operate? DIPP, department. This is a department of government, union government. So these questions are sometimes asked in prelims. They'll give you a statement about DIPP. DIPP is responsible for so and so activity, and it is a department under so and so ministry. So you need to know this, because these are things that usually are in the news. So there are a lot of departments in the government, but we'll not read about all the departments. What we come across in the news, that we are trying to be aware, because UPSC might ask a question prospectively, and this is a policy which is going to exist even for the coming 5 or 10 years. So that is why we have to be more aware about the disinvestment policy, privatization, what is DIPP. Okay, so that's for us to take away from this article. If you have the time, you can read this article. It is self-explanatory. You have two views given. One person is supporting privatization, another person is opposing privatization per se. So this person, Arvind Mehta, was a secretary to the 15th Finance Commission. So now as a UPSC aspirant, what is this Finance Commission? Open Lakshmikant, you will find Finance Commission, read about it, you'll understand. Then again, I've seen something called as Niti Aayog. What is Niti Aayog? What is Planning Commission? Earlier we had Planning Commission, now we have Niti Aayog. What are its functions? Why was it brought into picture? Who is the chairman of Niti Aayog? The Prime Minister, is it? So you'll have a vice chairman also. Are the state governments part of Niti Aayog? What exactly is this Niti Aayog? Whether it is a constitutional body, whether it is a statutory body, or whether it is just a think tank. That is your homework. Okay? So like this, if you read the newspaper, your core subject is also being covered, and you will be aware to even understand the current affairs. If you don't do this, if you just take some ready-made material and start reading, while you read it feels good, but at the end, when you see the UPSC prelims or mains paper, everything is like a googly. So this is the activity that you need to do. So our self-preparation should be utilized for this. That's how you need to use the newspaper, not try to make some notes from the newspaper. It doesn't help us, because already some people are there, R&D people are there, or some faculties are there, they're preparing stuff for you. Why do you want to do the bull work? Do the smart work. Okay. Then the poor conditions of protectors, this is regarding the armed forces and the police, how they are working under the poor conditions. So they have given some data and all that, that is not necessary for you. So you can ignore this article, but here you have come across a term called CRPF, ITBP, CAPF. You know, UPSC also conducts this examination called CAPF AC examination. Those of you who are preparing for UPSC Civil Services examination, when you're preparing for UPSC, you can also give this examination, UPSC CAPF examination. It will be like the UPSC General Studies paper only, but there's a variation in the pattern. Okay, try to give this examination. And when you're preparing for UPSC, apart from UPSC previous year questions, there are some exams conducted by UPSC like CAPF exam, engineering service exam, NDA exam, okay, and some departmental exams will be conducted. Usually as part of our test series and the discussion in the class, we do cover those questions. But whenever this exam is conducted, the latest paper, you try to go through that paper so that you understand the trend of the exam. You understand what is the viewpoint of UPSC, in which way are they thinking. Because if you understand the examination and the demands of the examination and the thought process of the examination, you will try to fine-tune your preparation accordingly. Don't think that it will be the same paper in UPSC Civil Services, but you can see the line of thought. And some questions will be relevant for UPSC also, because it is being conducted by the same body, same kind of people are preparing it. Okay, CAPF examination. So here, as part of your paper 3, internal security, you have this in your syllabus. It is mentioned about these bodies also, national bodies, security forces, security agencies. Okay, so these are the security agencies, right? Central security agencies. We have to try to just have a brief information about that. You have been given a book called Internal Security by Ashok Kumar, TMH ka. Usme it is mentioned. They have mentioned about ITBB, CAPF, CRPF, CBI. So CBI question, a lot of people have this, doubt whether it is a constitutional body or whether it is a department of the government. The difference between CBI and CVC. There's something called as Delhi Special Police Establishment Act. Under that, the CBI was established initially, but later it was conferred a different status. For that, you can just refer your Lakshmikant book, CBI. You'll find it, because these are the things that you come across in the newspaper regularly. Okay. So this article we can ignore. It just says that they are working under poor conditions, low salaries, no proper security, social security. They're risking their lives. This is the essence of the article. We don't need to get into the details of it, but we'll try to know about ITBP, CAPF and other organizations. Then moving to the page number 8, you have something called as 64 killed in Uttarakhand floods. What is there in that article? Nothing. 64 people are killed. This is just information. How should a UPSC aspirant look at this? Uttarakhand. I'll open the atlas. I'll look at the geography. Why don't we have floods or flash floods, earthquakes in Hyderabad? There's a difference in the geography. We have floods sometimes, rarely, whenever there are heavy rain, incessant rains. But in that region, you have something called as landslides, avalanches, flash floods. Here we have floods. But did you see that Hyderabad had flash floods? Did you ever come across this? No. We have never come across this term called cloud burst. Cloud burst, flash floods. Make a note of this. What is cloud burst? What is flash flood? What is an avalanche? What is a landslip or a landslide? Okay. And then under this image, there's a mention of NDRF personnel carrying out rescue operations in Chamoli district of Uttarakhand. Many times you see lot of disasters that are striking Uttarakhand are in this Chamoli district. Okay, so open your atlas, locate where is this Chamoli district. Are there any rivers passing over there, or what is the geographical terrain? Because UPSC examiner will, they are also reading the news every day, so they'll get this thought, why don't we ask this question over there? So that's how you have to see this. Okay, So look at the geographical area. In that way, your geography syllabus will also be covered. Apart from that, NDRF, National Disaster Response Force. You've seen this. What is this NDRF? What is SDRF, State Disaster Response Force? And this whole plethora of activities of disaster management, under which ministry does it come to? So this timely warning by center saved many lives, says Home Minister. So you got the answer. This National Disaster Management Act, National Disaster Response Force. What is NDMA? What is the vision of the National Disaster Management Act? Why was it brought into force? Okay, whether NDRF has, binding powers or not, or it is an attachment of the Home Ministry, or does it have an independent existence of its own? Whether NDRF is a constitutional body or a statutory body, that you have to try to know. Okay. At the same time, SDRF. Once you read about NDRF, you'll come across SDRF also. Then you have a mention about Chardham Yatra in the second paragraph. Chardham Yatra, history, culture, heritage, syllabus mein hai na. So try to know what is this Chardham Yatra. This Chardham Yatra, if you know some basic Hindi, usme 4 mention hai. So 4 pilgrimage centers. What are those 4 pilgrimage centers? Google kar lo, Chardham Yatra, you'll find which are the 4 regions. Then this article we have seen because it might be useful for disaster management. Apart from that, you could be asked an ethics question also. Ethics, they can ask you a question as a case study. Okay. And also geographically, we have seen these terms we come across: landslip, avalanche, earthquake, flash flood, cloudburst. So geographically, you see every issue has some multidimensionality, and the polity related aspect you have seen NDMA, National Disaster Management Act, NDRF, the governance aspect to it. Okay, so UPSC syllabus they have categorized because they have to give you a syllabus, but your perspective should be 360-degree. Okay, then system to track prisoners on parole. States told to use e-prisons. So this can be utilized for your GS paper 3, how information technology is used in governance. In paper 2 you have governance, at the same time GS paper 3 you have criminal justice system and stuff like that. So paper 2 may be hai, paper 3 may be hai. So that's why you need to have an integrated preparation. So, and you can also mention it as an example of information technology in governance. And there's a mention about National Human Rights Commission. In this article, in the second paragraph, you have National Human Rights Commission. What is this NHRC? Is it a constitutional body or a statutory body? Who are the members of NHRC? How are they appointed? Prelims questions. We are not doing all this nonsense just for the heck of it, because questions have been asked by UPSC previously. I'm trying to make you aware about what could be the areas you need to focus upon. So NHRC chairman kaun hai? Who appoints the members and chairman of the NHRC? Okay, whether it's a constitutional body or non-constitutional body, and whether the orders given by NHRC are they binding on the authorities or not, or are they only recommendatory in nature? Some of you are unaware of this, right? BIN, DING. What is the difference between a binding order and a non-binding order? You try to know about it. Okay. So when the Supreme Court is passing an order, it is a decree where it is binding on the authorities like the legislature, executive, and the lower courts. But NHRC, see, whenever there's a human rights violation, NHRC can take suo motu cognizance. What is suo motu? You try to find out. Okay, and also the orders passed by NHRC, is the government compulsorily obligated to follow those orders, or they are recommendatory and they hold moral value rather than some legal significance? So that's the difference between binding and non-binding. So these orders are non-binding actually. So try to know about that. NHRC Lakshmikant book, at the end, you'll find about NHRC. Read it. So some part of your polity is covered. Then gene editing guidelines facing delay. Science and technology. General Studies paper 3 and also some parts in UPSC Prelims. So what are transgenics? Genetically modified. This is a broader term, transgenic, and within this, genetically modified crops. So this is an issue that has existence in the past 10 to 15 years. The debate between genetically modified crops or should we go the natural way in agriculture. Okay, so our focus areas is what do you mean by gene editing, genetically modified organisms, genetically modified crops, transgenics, and then IARI. What is this IARI? 2 or 3 lines you should know about this, that's it. Just try to know what it is. Then CRISPR, in the penultimate paragraph, you find something called as CRISPR technology. This is a technology through which gene editing is done. One of the method. So this has been quite successful. That is why we are seeing that we are trying to potentially use the CRISPR technology. So that's how science and technology you need to utilize. Don't try to memorize everything. Just try to know this technology. You will try to understand the concept behind it. Okay, this CRISPR technology operates in a very specific manner wherein you're introducing the gene. Okay. Anyways, when they deal with science and technology in the class, it will be covered. But before that, I want you to be aware of it. Okay, don't try to be bogged down. Okay, sir, UPSC preparation, we need to know so many things. It is to just expose you. But maximum part of it will be covered in the class. Our basic research is some basic Google and Wikipedia. 5 minutes, if you read about it, you'll understand what is genetically modified, what is CRISPR. That is sufficient. Gene editing. Then PM to attend climate meet in Glasgow. It is a continuation of the first page. What were the terms? This is very important for us. Environment and ecology. Okay. UNFCCC, you will read about UNFCCC today. Okay. Then you will read about Paris Climate Accord. You will read about climate financing. What is clean energy per se? These are the terms. They look simplistic, but they have a lot of significance. Clean energy, climate financing. Okay, Paris Climate Accord, net zero carbon emission target, net zero carbon emission. Then G20 summit. What is G20? International organization, na? और G20 के बारे में पढ़िए. Which are the countries, the group of 20, which are the countries part of G20? Whether India is a part of G20? Does G20 have any headquarter or not? Whether it is a permanent body or not? What is the significance of it? Then INDCs. INDCs. What is this INDC? Anybody has come across this? Nationally determined contribution. You have seen that, no? So independent nationally determined contributions. What is this? INDC commitment. Under which accord did this INDC phenomena come into existence? You have something called as Paris Accord. Try to read about it. When you read about it, you'll understand. Okay. COP26. What is this? Conference of Parties? When you read about UNFCCC, UNFCCC, it's a convention. So it is a COP, Conference of Parties. It's a meeting every year or whenever they have some specific calendar for it, they'll conduct this COP. That is a convention. this is a meeting or a governing council. There's a structure to it. So you can find it in your ecology environment book, which has been given to you, or you can do some Google, you'll find it. But whenever I'm saying do some Google, I don't want you to get into too much of detail or depth of it. You will spend only about 5 to 10 minutes on each issue. You have to know where you need to restrain or restrict yourself. If you get into in-depth of it, you'll get lost in the plethora of information. At this juncture, you are just trying to be aware of it. When the classes are conducted, they will deal in depth and what is relevant, that will be covered. So don't waste time into that. Just try to know about it. But at this point, it is important for you to know about that because you'll be coming across regularly in the news. Then let's move to the next page. Pakistan retained on FATF's grey list. Financial Action Task Force. What is FATF? Anybody? Money laundering. You must have come across this term called money laundering. If you didn't, try to know about it. Money laundering, terror financing. So cutting across boundaries, we have terror financing happening, drug menace happening across different countries. So the world came across and created this Financial Action Task Force so that we can control this terror financing and money laundering activities. In India, we have something called as PMLA, Prevention of Money Laundering Act also, an act passed by the Parliament. So these are important as part of our General Studies paper 3. Okay, try to know about some basics of these things. FATF, what is its modus operandi? Why is it brought into picture firstly? Then you'll automatically understand what is money laundering, terror financing. If you do not understand also, when we cover in the class, you'll understand. Then they've mentioned about some grey list. So there's something called as other kind of list also. If there is grey list over there, there could be other color coding also. So why are they categorizing different countries like this? What is the problem to Pakistan if they're listed as grey listed countries? So if you read about FATF, you'll understand this. Okay? 10 minutes padhiye, Google mein. Final report and data bill to be out in November. So here, the Joint Parliamentary Committee. What is JPC? Lakshmikant mein mil jayega. Near Parliament. What is a Joint Parliamentary Committee? So basically, you have to understand that you have two houses of the Parliament, the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, the Council of States and the Council of People. Lok Sabha is popularly elected. So Joint Parliamentary Committee, it is signifying that members from two houses are part of that parliamentary committee. But whether this JPC is a permanent committee or it is an ad hoc committee, you have something called as permanent committees and ad hoc committees. Questions are asked in prelims. They'll give you, see JPC we are seeing in the news. UPSC paper jo prepare karte. Every time we are asking about Parliament or Lok Sabha, why not JPC? They just think, they'll give you a statement. JPC is a permanent committee of the Parliament. One statement. Whether it is true or false, you must be knowing. So this is the kind of line of thought you need to see. You have seen a committee, permanent committee, ad hoc committee, non-permanent committee. Which are the members of JPC? Who appoints the members of JPC? Okay. Then no poll events in areas near by-election seats. This information is not useful for us, but we have seen something called as ECI, Election Commission of India. As an aspirant, what I'll do is I'll open my Lakshmikant book, briefly read about Election Commission of India, briefly. And what is Model Code of Conduct? In that way, your basics are also covered. Because this article mentions about MCC, the Model Code of Conduct. What is the significance of MCC that we have to try to know? Then the next page, WHO UNICEF Hail Vaccine Milestone. So again the same thing. So 3 times in the news we are seeing that vaccine milestone, vaccine milestone. But our only significance is, what is WHO? What is the vision of WHO? Does WHO have any headquartered? At the same time, what is the nodal agency or the implementing agency of the agenda of WHO? Same holds true for UNICEF, international organizations. Then Supreme Court panel tells Assam to act on illegal construction, the Kaziranga National Park and Tiger Reserve. This information, if you see, it is nothing, not much of importance. But I've seen something called as Kaziranga National Park. Prelims mein questions pooch rahe about national parks and stuff like that. You open your atlas, they have listed national parks also in the atlas, and try to see which area is it coming across. And when you're seeing a national park or a wildlife sanctuary, what you will see? You will see the surrounding areas. Any any headquarters is mentioned, any capital is mentioned, or which latitude passes through it, which longitude passes through it. Does the Indian Standard Meridian pass through it or not? Questions have been asked. Okay. So now you must be asking, there are about 29 or 30 national parks, or more than that. How will we remember each of the latitude or longitude? At best, what we can do is, whatever important national parks and wildlife sanctuaries which have been given to you in your book, that you will read. Apart from that, whatever national parks that we are coming across in the news, because it's a potential question, because it is in the fresh memory of the examiner also. So that is what the examiner is expecting, whether you're aware about the happenings around you. So that's the geographical aspect you focus upon. Kaziranga National Park, this will be sufficient. Not hundreds of national parks and wildlife sanctuaries will not read. Okay. And when you're reading about Kaziranga National Park and Tiger Reserve, बोल के mention है, which is the standalone species. Here it is mentioned already. Kaziranga is famous for its rhino population. What kind of rhinoceros is present? Anybody? What kind of rhino is present? Why is it famous? Anyone? There's a specific kind of rhinos for which Kaziranga National Park is famous for. Try to find out today. One of your question is completed for prelims. Okay. Government failed to measure scale of hunger to tailor its responses. If you read the first paragraph, you will understand. You can ignore the other part. But what you need to focus upon, you have something called as Global Hunger Index, GHI, and the ranking of India has been given. What is the rank? 101 out of 116 countries. So that is our great achievement. So we are faring poorly than Nepal, Bangladesh, Pakistan is also mentioned over there. So this information, Global Hunger Index, we have seen. The data is India is ranked 110 out of 116 countries. Fine. This data you will use for your mains examination, whether it is essay or the general studies papers. And also sometimes if you are not unable to recall the data, we might not, because we'll be seeing across many data, many reports and indices. What we will do here, they have mentioned that India has got a poorer rank compared to Nepal. That is the neighboring states of India, neighboring countries of India. Nepal, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka. These are the neighboring countries. So if you do not remember the data, we can just say India has fared poorly in the Global Hunger Index compared to the neighboring countries like Southeast Asian neighbors, or the ASEAN countries, or the Southeast Asia. Like this you can mention. That is acceptable. But for prelims perspective, Global Hunger Index, now I should try to know what is this Global Hunger Index. What are the parameters? Index, once you prepare an index, you're preparing that index based on certain parameters. What are the parameters on which Global Hunger Index is provided? Whether you are taking nutritional value or the calorific value, whether you're taking the spending capacity, So this hunger index, what we are doing, we are trying to measure how many people are are not getting the basic requirement, nutritional requirement. That's how we are devising this global hunger index. So there are certain parameters that you try to know today. Okay, you try to make note of it also. In fact, I think you'll be finding it in the Shankar Ganesh book, Shankar Ganesh economy book. You have a chapter called hunger, poverty. There you have poverty based indexes and hunger indexes. If you do not find it, do Google. Okay, so global hunger index, which is the organization which gives global hunger index? It is not the government of India which is giving global hunger index, no. If you see the first paragraph itself, you can understand that India has, expressed its dissatisfaction based on which parameters that you have given such a low ranking to India. Now you must have understand it is not an index by India. It is an index by some foreign country, or it is an index by some independent organization or agency, international agency. So which is the agency which is giving this global hunger index? And what are the parameters on which this hunger index is given? So these are your potential prelims questions. Then move to page number 11. You can ignore most of the topics in this page, but United Nations unveils fund for people's economy in Afghanistan. Over here you have something called as United Nations Development Program, UNDP. What is this UNDP? That we'll try to find out. Okay. Rest all, if you read the first paragraph, you'll understand. Not need to get into the complete details of it. Pak Foreign Minister ISI Chief hold talks with Taliban in Kabul. You just need to, if you read the headlines, you'll understand. Rest all also in this page, you can just read the headlines and ignore it. Then we move to the next page. Need strategic reserves of coal and gas. Why have we mentioned the term called strategic reserves? We can just say need reserves of coal and gas. Any guess? So in the second paragraph, if you see, there's a mention of fossil fuels. What are fossil fuels? What is renewable energy? What is non-renewable energy? Okay, this you'll try to find out. In fact, you have read about this in your intermediate or your 10th class, just that we might not able to recall and not be specific about the details. So basically open your ecology book or Google, you will try to know about this. And there's a mention about supply shocks. There's something called as demand and supply. Here, South Asia Power Summit hosted by the Confederation of Indian Industry. In the second paragraph, you can see, second or third paragraph, South Asia Power Summit hosted by CII. So they'll give you a statement in prelims, South Asia Power Summit. It is by Government of India, was hosted by Government of India recently in New Delhi. This is a statement. Which of the following statements are true? It is not by Government of India, right? It is hosted by CII. So this you have to try to keep in mind. Rest all, if you read the first two paragraphs, you will understand. So, strategic reserves, fossil fuels, renewable energy, non-renewable energy. We'll try to know about this. Like this, our ecology environment syllabus is also being covered. Coal scarcity still a looming risk, says CRISIL. What is CRISIL? These are some rating agencies which give rating to the economy, Indian economy. Is it growing at a healthy pace? What is the potential growth of Indian economy? These are credit rating agencies. As part of our economy, when we deal with economy, you'll just come across briefly about this. You have like this several organizations which give the credit rating. Sharp economic revival underway, says Goel. So he's mentioned energy security is the core to self-reliance. Energy security. What is energy security? What is the energy policy of India? Okay. Are we an energy secure country? No, we are not an energy secure country. We are dependent on imports. Why are we bothered about Iranian crisis? Why are we bothered about Afghan crisis? Because we are importing energy. We are importing reserves from there, from different parts, Indian Ocean region. When we dealt with the China article, if you see, they have also given a mention about Indian Ocean region. So open your atlas and see which are the countries in the Indian Ocean region. Is there any strait? You have something called as Malacca Strait. You come across in the news regularly. Malacca Strait. Just see which are the countries through which that Malacca Strait has existed. Okay, that's how your geography is covered and international aspect is also covered. So try to know what is energy security and how India is trying to achieve energy security or energy sufficiency. Rest all, if you just read the headlines, it is enough. But in this article of sharp economic revival underway by Piyush Goyal, you have a mention about FDI. What is foreign direct investment? What is FII? Foreign institutional investment. What is the difference between both of them? Both are foreign investments only. What is the difference between FDI and FII? Shankar Ganesh book, you'll find it. Okay? This is your homework. Okay? Rest all, if you want, you read the headlines, nothing to make notes of. Sports, if somebody feels interested, you can just read the headlines. Don't get into too much detail of it. Just because UPSC has asked question last year, it doesn't mean that every year you'll find those questions. Anything else? Now you have any doubts, you can let me know. So that's how you use the newspaper. That is the importance of reading the newspaper. If you just try to read the editorials, it feels good when you read, but you're not going through the nuances of it or the core issues, it becomes a redundant exercise. So have you prepared your timetable? Have you prepared your timetable? That day, I think 10 students were there. We have told to get your timetables prepared. How many of you have prepared your timetable? Only 2 of them. 3 people. Why? What is the reason others didn't prepare your timetable? Any specific reason, or you're finding a difficulty? I told you before you start your preparation, your planning and strategy should be right. If that is not in place, it will become self-defeating. Okay, try to prepare your timetable. Now we'll try to briefly discuss some basic overview of a timetable. What should an ideal timetable look like? And also we'll look at Tina Dabi's timetable. They're gonna get that PDF just So if you have not prepared, at least prepare today. Spend some time for yourself. Okay, it's only if you have a right strategy, right direction, right plan, is this examination tameable, or else work keeps piling up. It's almost 2 days since I spoke to 10 of you, I guess. First day there were 10 students. So you have still not prepared. Some of you have prepared, that is good, but others also start preparing a timetable. This is just a sample timetable. You can utilize it if it suits you. But there could be a person who is comfortable reading in the night. You have to customize it according to your thing. There's a person who's comfortable reading in the morning. They can follow this. And each one of you has your own strengths and weaknesses, own comfort zone and discomfort. Based on that, you have to customize it. But once you make your timetable, try to stick to it. It is at least one thing that you made for yourself. So have that in place. And making a timetable helps you develop consistency in your preparation, gives you a direction, gives you a blueprint of what your daily activity should be. If you don't do this, you are preparing like a vagabond, and it is not going to sustain for long. Okay? And apart from this daily timetable, the UPSC syllabus or your preparation pattern, you have to try to have short targets, daily targets, weekly targets, and monthly targets. This also you have to try to maintain. You've been given a book called Civils Prep Tracker, right? In that, micro topics of a subject are also given. Each chapter has been listed into micro topics as well. So whenever you're planning for a week, try to, have a target. What are the topics that you're going to cover, so that you have a perspective in place and your preparation will be in tune with that. Am I audible? In tune with that. So, okay. Wake up at 5 a.m. How many people are gonna wake up? Rest all, you can wake up at 7 a.m. also, but have a sleep of 7 hours, 7 to 8 hours, not beyond that. Okay? Because rising early helps you maintain a good healthy lifestyle, and 5:30 to 5 a.m. to 5:30 you can have some basic exercising and stuff like that. So you can read it, right? 5:30 to 6 a.m. freshen up. So 1 hour goes into the daily chores once you wake up. It is humanly evident that you will get into these daily chores. So 6 a.m. you have to start preparing. So here 6:15 to 7:15 a.m. they have mentioned about reading the newspaper. How many of you want to read the newspaper in the morning? See, it is your call if you want to read it in the morning or not. But going by what toppers are doing or successful candidates are doing, and based on the experience, I think if you can read the newspaper in the later half of the day, it will be better. It is your call again, but it is, what I am saying is only advisable in nature. It is not binding, because you are starting with a fresh mind. If you complete the core subject, if you read any core subject like polity or economy, that is going to stay with you forever, right? Current affairs today you are reading. After 1 year, it could vary. At the peak of your concentration level, I want you to read your standard books, whether it is optional or general studies. Okay, preferably general studies you can read. So here also we have mentioned, keep your notebook handy and start making notes when you're reading the newspaper, which you're already going to start from today. Okay. Then 7:45 to 8:30 a.m. breakfast. 8:30 to 9:30 a.m. revision. So whatever you have read, try to revise and contemplate. Another important thing for UPSC preparation is to contemplate. Whatever you read, for instance, you have completed a particular chapter. So contemplate, some people might understand, some people are not understanding either. I guess I am, by contemplating, I mean you have to try to think, brainstorm. एक chapter खत्म होने के बाद, try to think which part of the syllabus does it fit into, what could be the interlinkages to it. Okay, what could be the possible questions from UPSC. Okay, and try to revise it mentally. So that's how When you read a particular subject, it will be retained for a longer duration because you're also thinking about it. Just reading, trying to run behind completing this book, it is not going to help. And reading multiple sources also is not going to help, which I already told you. And also yesterday, Uday sir also must have told you. Try to stick to limited sources, standard sources, and revise them over and over again. Okay, that should be your basic approach. And when you are reading anything, spend some time into thinking, because having the right perspective is required for UPSC. That differentiates between a UPSC aspirant and an aspirant preparing for Group 2 or any other smaller examination. Because we want independent thinkers, individual thinkers as administrator. That is a demand of the government, not me. Okay, so that is why try to develop this level of thinking and contemplation. Again, another study hour. So now that we have classes from the morning, it will be usually from 9 a.m. Okay, 9 a.m. to let's say 12:30 or 1 p.m. you'll have the classes of general studies. So this is the timetable if you do your self preparation. So whatever study hours that you're seeing, that you can replace it in the evening. Okay, apart from that, your classroom learning also should be a process of study. It is not just you're listening to some faculty, they're coming and telling things, you're sitting and relaxing. Yes, while you listen, everything seems good. Arey, mujhko sab aa gaya. But if you don't try to relish it, build over it, try to do some homework and revise on a daily basis, UPSC is not achievable. You have to revise on a daily basis, because some people, they have joined us today only, I guess, yesterday and today. So try to revise on a daily basis, be at most attentive in the class, because 50% of your preparation gets completed in the class, because you're spending about 3 to 4 hours over here. It has to get completed in the class itself. Okay, and revise it on a daily basis. If somebody wants to make a note of it, you can make. So 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. resume and change the subject. So don't keep yourself occupied with a single subject. Every day at least try to cover 2 subjects. One which is being taught in the class, and another subject which you can choose. As we are going to start with world history, Uday sir will be taking up world history from Monday. So I suggest, apart from world history, you can start with your polity. Polity, which book you will read? Indian Constitution at Work se start karo. That will hardly take 2 or 3 days. Indian Constitution at Work, NCERT book. Because some basic details, basic essence of the Constitution is mentioned. And sometimes they're asking questions directly from there, UPSC. So that's why read Indian Constitution at Work, then Lakshmikant. Okay? And Lakshmikant, don't try to mug it up. You'll find many people telling you to mug up. You cannot mug it up. In the initial reading, understand the contours of the subject, why we are reading, essence of the articles. When you're seeing about fundamental rights, try to understand why we have fundamental rights, directive principles, what is constitution per se, what is constitutionalism, what is federalism, what is separation of powers. Okay, like that you have to try to focus on the terms and concepts. If you are clear with the concepts, you can understand the residuary part. We'll be sharing this with you. You can anyway see that. So the other day when we discussed 2:30 to 4:30 p.m. is the CSAT paper 2. Prelims, you have 2 papers, right? One is general studies in the morning, 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. 2:30 to 4:30 p.m. is the CSAT paper 2. This time, usually it is going to be a post-lunch session. When you have an optional class, you will be in the class, or else what you do is during this time you try to revise, or try to do some practice questions. Do not spend more than 30 minutes or 45 minutes for practicing at this point of time. After 6 months of preparation, that time the practice will be more, studying will be lesser. Now more study and 30 to 45 minutes of practice every day and revision. That you should do, because you might be lethargic. Though you study after lunch, you could be at a relaxed state. But if you do the practice questions, your mind will be activated, and when you give the prelims examination next year, 2022 or 23, whatever you're choosing, that time your mental state will be activated. So do this practice. don't sleep between 2:30 to 4:30 or 9:30 to 11:30. And sleeping 7 hours or 8 hours per day in the night is sufficient. If at all you're tired in between, take something called as a power nap for 15 minutes. Set your alarm. Once you're tired about reading, you can take a short break of 10 or 15 minutes, just relax and again start reading. And you can do some pranayam, what you call as breathing technique, Anulom Vilom, that you know, right? Google, YouTube, you'll find many things. You can just read do it every day. That really helps. Lot of toppers or a lot of people, they do this activity so that you're supplying oxygen to your brain. It is not about some yogic practice or something. It is only about supplying oxygen to your brain and refreshing yourself and rejuvenating yourself. And your concentration level also can be retained because your focus will be on your breath. Try to do this whenever you're tired. Okay, don't drink Red Bull. Some people start drinking Red Bull. These are things which work out when we are doing BTech, but it doesn't work out in UPSC because it is like a test match. Gatorade, Red Bull doesn't work out. Because this is a daily activity. This has to become like a vocation for you, a daily practice for you. It is not 2 or 3 months that you prepare and you get a rank. At least 12 to 15 months is what we are going to focus. So at a sustained level, 8 to 12 hours of study per day is required. That is why these are the things that we need to do. Some basic things will help you keep the momentum running, because having the right momentum is important. In the initial stage, if you prepare well and then you get frustrated, deviate, that is not going to help. Maintain consistency. So they are closing at 10:30 p.m. so that you have about 7 hours or 8 hours per day to sleep. So that was the regular timetable, and now we can just have a glimpse of Tina Dabi's timetable. So she used to wake up at 7 a.m. like most of you. Wake up and freshen up, 7:30 a.m. newspaper reading time. She was used to the newspaper habit from her childhood, so that's why she was continuing the same. Okay, if you're interested, you can follow it, or else you can read some standard book, because that will stay with you for a longer time. In fact, this newspaper, you can put it at a time post lunch or in the evening when your attention levels are not to the maximum. When you're reading the newspaper, you're excited to read, you will try to know new things. So when you're at your low, concentration level is low, you can put your newspaper. So instead of newspaper reading from 7:30 to 8:30, you can read a NCRT or a standard text. Okay. Then 8:30 breakfast, half an hour for breakfast. 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. is the study slot, number 1. So almost 3 hours. So 3 hours tak kaise padenge, sir? Like, we cannot sustain it. You can take short break. After 1 hour, you can take a 10-minute break. The same holds true. You have to take a break so that your attention levels are rejuvenated. By taking a break, it doesn't mean that you open up your phone or social media like Instagram, Facebook. Try to take a break by doing some yoga or some walk, or listen to music. That is good. Or listen to, talk to your friends or parents if they are nearby, not on phones. And try to restrict your telephonic engagements, because that will lead to deviations. Even if you want to talk to somebody, have a specific time. See, we have a daily target of preparing for 8 hours or so. After completing it, at the end of the day, you can talk to your friends. That is a target that you are keeping for yourself. Once you achieve the target, then try to indulge. Or put your weekends if you want to go out. Half of the weekend, as I already told you, the first half you try to study or try to complete whatever parts are remaining. The second half of Sunday or Saturday, whenever you consider it as a weekend, you can try to relax, try to go out, try to have some physical activity, try to do whatever thing that you watch a movie, whatever you want to do. But have these daily targets. If you just think getting UPSC is a long-term target and you're not following your daily targets, you're losing, your rank on a daily basis. You yourself are getting yourself out of the race. So have these daily targets which are achievable. So once you start achieving these daily targets, you will find confidence in yourself. Yes, I have completed this. Today, I wanted to complete Lakshmikant's fundamental rights topic. I've completed it. So you can see that confidence for yourself, that rejuvenation. So that will be the driving force. Nobody will give you the driving force. Even if Uday sir or tomorrow Sandeep sir or me, we can just say, after going home again, it will go over your head. Now it seems good. But that driving force will come only if you're able to learn new things. UPSC preparation is about learning new things, experiencing and getting aware about the happenings around you. So enjoy this process. If you do not enjoy this, it will be self-defeating. Maintain consistency, enjoy the process, and be honest to yourself. I can tell you prepare a timetable, but hardly 2 people of you have prepared. Rest all have not prepared. That is your loss. What will I lose? If you're preparing a timetable, having a right plan, and reading what is necessary, I've also told you to start reading the world history textbook. So some people might have started it. It's good for them. You are in the race. Your preparation is streamlined. So that's why I have this micro targets, daily target, not only daily target, hourly target should be achieved. So once you're achieving the target, keep a tick for yourself. Okay. And then you deserve a break of 10 minutes. You achieved that 1.5 hour target of completing that chapter. Then you deserve a break. You enjoy that break, 10-15 minutes. Okay. Then from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m, current affairs revision time. 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. lunch break. 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. leisure period. So leisure period, whatever you want to do, you can do. But I don't suggest you take 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. of leisure time, because 2:30 to 4:30 we'll do some practice, or we will try to read the news or something which is interesting. Okay. 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. study slot number 2. So she's having 2-hour study slot. Then 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. topic wise revision. So whatever has been read that day, revision is also crucial. That is the key getaway for us from this timetable. Lot of us, what we think, we are trying to read new things, more and more reading. That is not going to help. At the same time, whatever we read at the end of the day, we have to try to revise it. Whatever has been taught in the class, you will revise. Whatever you have read from the standard textbook, you will revise. So spend about 1 hour or 1.5 hour for revision. 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. dinner time, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. study slot number 3. Then 11 p.m. to 12 a.m. leisure period again. One can spend this gap on Facebook or any other social media platform. Okay, 12 a.m. sleep. So you're going to follow it because she's a topper. Will you follow the same? See, it varies from person to person. I've given this example because, she was already well versed during her graduation years. She has been exposed to the UPSC examination through her parents. And from her 10th standard itself, she was trying to have a complete picture about the NCERTs. Okay. And she has done graduation from Lady Sri Ram College. Uska arts ka hi background hai. But most of us are coming from BTech or MBBS or some other background. So we need to put in some extra effort. So we can't afford that leisure time because we have only 1 year to prepare. She has been preparing from almost say 4 years effectively. But now, manam graduation lo unnappudu peddaga chadavakapoyundochu. Now you try to take things seriously. Last year, there are students who cracked it in the first attempt. Every year, there will be some exceptions, students who crack it in the first attempt. So why are they able to do it? Some people because of their earlier preparation, but some people, even in this 15 months of preparation, with meticulous planning, consistency, and targeted revision, they are able to crack it. So no social media for us. Okay? Don't put that. At least for the first 1 year of your preparation, try to avoid it. It is distraction. Okay? If you want to the max in the weekend, you try to indulge for half an hour or 1 hour to stay connected. But beyond that, don't try to do it because a lot of our friends are doing something else. They are into MS or they have settled in the US for their higher studies, or some people are chilling out, enjoying their life, their father's money or something. So we'll start envying, you'll develop a sense of frustration.
they are enjoying, they're partying, I'm not able to do it. These are things that we face. Now it looks simple, but once you get into this moment, staying in hostel or, trying to read this Lakshmikant polity, history, geography, economy, what are we doing? Rest all people are enjoying. So that sense of insecurity creeps in. It is natural for everyone. But those people who hold their nerve and prepare consistently, they crack the examination. So unnecessarily you're inviting trouble if you get into social media. Okay, you'll see posts, then once you see a particular post, then again there will be an interlinkage. Then you see Shah Rukh Khan, Aryan Khan, okay, then read about them. So this happens. It's natural. So better to avoid, because maintaining that self-restraint is difficult at this juncture. So try to avoid it. Any doubts that you have? So this PDF will share it with you today on the app. You can make your customized plan accordingly. Those people who have not prepared your timetable. But your timetable should be self-made. Don't try to copy it. Just try to take it as a reference. Because that is something that you're making for yourself. And why am I asking you to make it? Because at least what you make, you should follow. Forget about tomorrow you becoming an administrator, you frame some rules and the people should follow. Today you are making a rule for yourself, at least you follow the rule. Okay? Try to read the world history book and polity, start it. And from Monday you'll have world history class. After a week or so, another subject also will be included. Okay? We'll try to inform you what subject it is beforehand. We are thinking about ethics, to start ethics during or after world history, so that you will be exposed to it and you'll be comfortable with your main syllabus also. So parallelly, mains and prelims will be covered for you. And on the AKS Civils Mentor app, we have given access to you to the tests also. Chapter-wise test access be rahega, MCQ based. As world history, there will not be much MCQ based because it is not there in our prelims. We'll be giving you mains related assignments in the Google Classroom. Today you'll get access to the Google Classroom. Their subject-wise questions have been given. Along with that, we'll give you classroom assignment also. Additionally, the faculty will be giving you assignment. So that are the two stages of assignment that we'll have. One, what is being given by the faculty, that will also be evaluated, and try to make the best use of the faculty by getting the feedback from the faculty. And faculty can give you feedback only if you write an answer. If you don't write, you think that, just read, going through the classes, I'm going to get into IAS, it is not going to help. Because answer writing is a skill which has to be developed on a regular basis. Today you have written, you can see how your mind is now open. After writing that answer, you must have experienced that sense of mental blockade being removed. Your mind started thinking. Your mind started organizing your thoughts. Your mind started reflecting upon your thoughts. You could see that, rush of thoughts running into your mind. So that if you do on a daily basis, your mind also will be activated. And you will be in a position to develop your perspective. Whatever you're reading also, you'll try to develop your own perspective. And UPSC is about having a balanced opinion. Don't try to have extreme opinions. Like even if I ask you about a particular issue and the faculty teaches you. See, faculty also are individuals. Some people have some extreme opinions, but most of them have a balanced opinion. So don't take anything at the face value of it. You see some YouTube value, some topper says something, or some faculty says something, some blog you have read. Everybody has their own individual strategy, individual opinions. But you as an aspirant should exercise discretion and develop your balanced viewpoint about everything. And try to stick on to whatever strategy that you are adopting. And what is the strategy for UPSC? Now you have a complete understanding of it. Try to stick to that strategy. Don't deviate. A lot of deviations come in. We'll break for the day. If anybody has any questions, they can ask. Any questions? You can leave. These answers, you leave it over here. Okay. Monday, you try to upload it. Two answers have been written by everybody, na? Papers. All of you have written your name, no? You'll receive a mail. Try to join that classroom. Okay? All assignments are given over there. From now on, whatever assignment that you submit, that should be uploaded over there, so that you can see the difference for yourself. From the first answer that you're writing today on 22nd of October 2021, after 3 months, if you see, you can see the difference in your answer writing pattern, the thought process that you're at today, how it is going to be different. So you'll become a more enriched person in this coming few months. So enjoy the process that you're going to gain wisdom and knowledge. You may leave. Anybody has any questions, they can ask. Association of assets with accumulation of assets. When you are selling off that particular asset, particular part of that asset, that is called disinvestment. The government is owning certain assets. When you are involving